Um, so this is my first YouTube video, and I'm making this video because I just wanted to talk about this book that I like. And I figured, my friends, they like to read, but they're not like as interested in hearing this conversation as I am. And sometimes you have interests as your friends, and it's the same interest, but sometimes you don't. And that's okay. So I figured, where can I talk about this? The internet. Why not? So the book, by the look of this title, is Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre. I love this book. I really love this book. And shit. I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous. Okay, so yeah, so the book is called Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And if you've never heard of it, if you've never read it, it's a novel published in 1847. So the author at the time used a pseudonym by the name of Currer Bell, and that is because she's a woman, and women writing a story, at the time, no, she didn't want her story to be criticized just because she's a woman. She wanted her story to be looked at in all aspects because, you put your hard work into something this long, this detailed, and all people want to focus about is the fact that you're a woman. They would, they would ignore the plot, the lessons, the character, the takeaway, everything. They would ignore it. So it would just be undermined. And women's rights in the 1800s, at the time where she was, like when it was published, was very minimal. They were still very much second-class citizens, and you can see it represented in the book because the women had their worth through their marriage prospects, their families, and basically through a man. So that's why. So the book is about the main character. Her name is Jane Eyre, and she's this young orphan girl who was raised by her aunt. Her aunt is very spiteful. She doesn't like her, and her parents died. So the story takes the reader through her life, her young life, teenage life, and as a young adult, a young woman, the hardships she faces, the things she has to overcome, while she's a woman that never really knew love given towards her, like familiar or otherwise. So it's really her going through the world, learning what love is, learning who she is, what she wants, and essentially finding a place to belong. This book is amazing to me. I know it might sound boring to you right now, but I really, seriously, it's not. Because bear with me, when I first read the summary of this book back when I was in high school, I believe I was in junior year, and I wanted to be in an AP class. And if you don't know what an AP is, it's like advanced placement. I was in honors, but I wanted to be in advanced placement because I wanted to challenge myself, and I figured I can do it. So I messaged my counselor, and he said yes, just choose a book, do the summary on it, and then they'll place me in the class. So the book that looked most interesting to me at the time was Jane Eyre. I figured, why not? I read the summary. I was bored because I was like, this doesn't look very interesting. But when you really get into it, and I read the book, but I didn't read the book. I used an audio to just follow along, and that was just easier for me because I knew that I wasn't going to just commit to it with myself 100%. So I would read a few chapters every day just so I could finish it quickly. So anyways, back to the story. So she gets this job, right? She's making her way through the world as an independent woman, trying to find herself, trying to make a means for herself. And she lands a job in this teaching position at the school. After the teaching position, after the teaching position she had at the school that she attended, she gets a job. She petitions for this job, like that's how you did it back then in the newspaper and stuff. She petitioned for this job as a governess to the ward of this man named Mr. Rochester. So if you don't know what a governess is a woman who is hired to teach young children in a home academics. They're not nurses, so they don't really bring them up through life. They just there for their educational purposes. So that's what she does. And so half of the story after her schooling and, you know, the hardship she deals with, that the half of the rest of the story is basically her time. A huge chunk of it is her time at that house. And this is where the romance stuff happens. You know, she develops genuine love and attraction to the master of the household, Edward Rochester. And he does for her as well. She learns a lot at the school her aunt sent her to, but here at that house it really becomes a home for her because she learns love and care, like genuine love. Like this man was about her. It's great. So the basics is that there's 38 chapters, like 480 pages. An average read, when I googled it, is like 9 hours 41 minutes. You can separate the time like I did with the chapters, 4 chapters a day or so, 4 or 3, it's fine. 19th century, it's a female lead. I think it has a little bit of everything. I think it has like a little thrill, a little romance, some sadness, some scare a little bit, social issues, especially the ones that women deal with. So this book, someone at work gave it to me like for Christmas, and I was really happy. I know I already read it, but I really wanted like the actual copy of the book. When I first read it, it was in a PDF. So this is really nice. I really like it. I kind of don't want to open it and reread it because it's paperback and I don't want to mess it up. But I'm really excited because it's just nice to have. So yeah, okay. Why do I like this book? I like this book because I don't know, like Charlotte Bronte's books to me are they're realistic in a sense. I like books that are realistic. I'm not huge on young adult books like with the romance and stuff because it's not realistic to me. So I like books that are like, I don't know, like you go through hardship, but it's when there is love there, it's like love that is genuine. Like it takes time for it to develop, and for me that's really what Charlotte Bronte brings to Jane Eyre, and in her other books as well. So Jane Eyre, the term, you probably heard the term plain Jane at one point, and this book, I think that might have been where the phrase came from, plain Jane, because Jane, our character, our lady, our protagonist, she really is kind of boring. She is kind of boring, and that's what she thrives on. Like she wants to be boring. Like she wants to blend into the background. She wants to be unseen. She wants to be unheard. And this is the character of Jane Eyre. She's a very intelligent girl, a very meek girl too, and because that's what she's used to when she was young. Like her childhood was completely surrounded on the fact that she needs to be unseen, unheard, and that's it. That's what her aunts demanded of her. That's what some of the maids, the serving people demanded of her. She was bullied by her cousins. Her aunt bullies her. So she really, as small as she can make herself, that's what she wants to do. They verbally and physically abused her, excluded her from things like the family portrait, and that's just what she was used to. Even at the school, she was not treated well. She really applied this behavior in her looks and her disposition. Her clothing is described as gray in color. And when she first meets Rochester, she's wearing completely black, like someone died or something. And it's kind of like her soul is essentially dead as well. Yeah. Let's see. So the development, the conversation in the book as well between her and Rochester is also something I really like. When I say like love development, is really sometimes the development you see between two characters when they start to like each other tends to be, in my opinion, a bit more interesting, and it gets you on the edge of your seat more than when they actually do get together. Because sometimes the flirting, the conversations, just to see how they feel about each other, it really, I don't know, it's just so fast. It's just so nice to me. Like, I've never been in that position. I've never been in like no love situation. So when I read stuff like this and it doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel like it's just like physical attraction, it's more than that. I really find it to be refreshing and enjoyable. It's not pushy, it's very light, and you know, and you really root for them, even despite the faults of Rochester, and he has some faults. Anyways, I also like that the story doesn't make it out to be, you know, some kind of fairy tale. This story is not a fairy tale. I like fairy tales when I'm watching Disney. I like fairy tales maybe when I'm reading fan fiction. I don't know, but like, not with this book. I really like that it's as realistic as it can be. You know, this poor girl who is mistreated, wrong in life, meets this rich man, and they fall in love, and happy ending. It's kind of a little bit, you can think of it a little bit like Cinderella, except some factors are not there. Like, you know, she has cousins and not an aunt, not a stepmother and stepsisters. She doesn't have any like animal friends. The fairy tale aspect is completely not there, but the basics things are there. Like, this girl mistreated, she wants something more for herself. She meets this man, but the man is not Prince Charming, not at all. Thank God. He's not Prince Charming. He has his own faults, and he has to basically confront these secrets of his that he's been hiding, like lying, like keeping away, so he doesn't have to think about it, and he doesn't want to tell her, and then she finds about it, and it's just, you know, this whole situation. You know, but I think that the love is very very genuine. It's not like, it's written and it's made up, but it's not, you know, like, it's not ABC Family, it's not it's not CW. It's not lame to me. It's not lame to me. So yeah, although if you don't want to like read the book, obviously that's fine, but there are adaptations you can watch on YouTube. There's there's one that's free, and then there's like, I think 2006, 2008, but the early 2000s, there's a Jane Eyre series, and that one has been said to be the best one because it's really, really interesting and fascinating. Like, the guy that plays Rochester there, he's really funny and he really brings life to like the interactions that Rochester has, like how he speaks, and you know, like how he flirts with Jane. When I first read the book, I didn't even know he was flirting like that. I didn't know he was like really trying to like see if she likes him. To me, I thought he was just a jerk. I was like, how dare he play Jane? Like, how dare he try to make our girl Jane jealous like this by bringing all these people to his house, knowing damn well she was feeling him. How dare he try to like get her to like confess her feelings by bringing this like fortune teller lady to the house, and then disguising himself, like putting himself behind the curtains just to see how, like, just figure out how she's feeling. I was like, this man is nothing. Like, you, no, we're not gonna stop doing that to Jane, because Jane is already meek. She's already shy. Stop trying to force things out of her. But in the adaptations, I do laugh because, like, the jokes are funny. The interactions are funny. Like, there was this one scene where she said that just like the book, she said she has to go back to see her aunt because her aunt is dying. And and he was like, okay, like, how long do you have to see it? Are you gonna come back? She's like, she said she didn't know because, you know, the lady's dying. You don't put a time on that. And he was like, oh, you need some money. And then he asked her how much money she has, and then she has a little bit of money, and he gave her a lot of money. And she was like, no, this is too much. And he was like, no, it's okay, just take it. But then he took it back, and he was like, no, you're right. If I give you this, you'll be gone for months. And then she was like, okay, but, like, you still owe me my wages, like, you still owe me my pay. And he was like, then come back for it. And he called her sneaky and stuff. But it was just like this little joke between them. And yeah, even the confession, when she was hysterical, and then he was like, oh, I love you, and she was like, why are you lying to me? Because no, she doesn't know love. No one ever loves her. No one feels like that for her. And she's like, no, you're lying. And he was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, do you think just because I'm plain and little, you could just play with my feelings? And he was like, no, I'm sorry, like, I really genuinely like you. And then, yeah, and then they, like, you know, kissed, and it was just nice. And yeah. One more thing, I really like, I think this is the most thing I like about her book: the details, the imagery, the way you can just envision everything when Charlotte Bronte writes is very, very, very descriptive. Like, let me see. Like, this, there is a part she was talking, like, in chapter 1, Jane was reading her book, and she was envisioning these places that she wanted to go. Oh my gosh, where is it? Okay, there's literally details everywhere, like, great details. I love when books have, like, you can envision everything. And I like the way she writes, because, okay, you know how, like, when you read English, like, Victorian, like, books in Victorian era, and you know they're speaking, like, British, like, you know, the accent, even when you're just reading it, the accent will come out of you. So it's like, let me see. Okay, I'll just read it, like, any old line. I can now conjecture readily that this streak of light was, in all likelihood, a gleam from a lantern carried by someone across the lawn. But then, prepared as my mind was for horror, shaken as my nerves were for agitation, I thought the swift darting beam was a herald of some coming vision from another world. My heart beat thick, my head grew hot, and a sound filled my ears, which I deemed the rushing of wings. Something seemed near me. I was oppressed, suffocated. Endurance broke down. I rushed to the door and shook the lock in desperate effort. Steps came from running along the outer passage. The key turned. Bessie and Abbott entered. So, I don't know. I just think that the more descriptive a book is, the more enjoyable it can be, because sometimes if it's a lot of descriptions, you got to really take your time to read it, and then you have to go back and read it again. But once you can picture it and envision it, it really just brings the story to life for your readers, because now they're seeing it too, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, oh wow, that sounds really nice. Or if it's when that scene where she was in the red room and she thought she saw something supernatural, that really, the picture that Charlotte Bronte painted was really the scare factor. So yeah. Anyways, that's just how this is the end of the video. And I don't know, I probably didn't do this book as much justice as I could, but that's okay because I really like this book. I could talk about it all day. Like, it really is my favorite book. My favorite book in middle school used to be this vampire book, and that's only because I bought it from the Scholastic book fair, and I was really heavily into like vampires back then. But this book is genuine for me. Like, this book, I started out not liking it, then I really got into it, then it's just like, oh my gosh, this book is fantastic. Charlotte Bronte is a genius. And yeah, thank you for listening. If it was boring, that's okay. If you didn't like it, that's okay. If you liked it, thank you. Just comment or don't comment. But thank you for watching my video. And I'm happy I got to talk about this book that I really liked. And yeah, okay. Bye.